What immediately tells you that a person wasn't raised right?
When someone looks down at others based on what they do, that just clearly shows that they've learned the same thing from their caregivers. I hate people like this. I always respond by saying my father, who was a marketing director for Microsoft, wanted to be a garbage man. Even after retirement, he still loves watching the garbage trucks every week. There is absolutely no reason to shit on people for doing a job just because you don't want to do it.
Cutting queues. Some jerk tried to cut my husband and I in line to board a plane on Tuesday. My husband said a reasonably polite but annoyed "excuse me" and walked by the guy. The guy had the nerve to say, "We're all going to the same place, man." Like, okay, then why are you cutting?
Employees look down at me, not knowing my family owns the company. I'm 22 years old and just graduated fresh from college. Before I started applying to different companies, my parents made it clear that I was going to work for their company and hopefully run it in the future when they retire. My parents own a huge waste management service company and have become really successful. They decided that I needed to learn about the family business from the ground up, which meant that I had to do a lot of dirty work. My dad gave me different tasks throughout the week. Some days, I was with the crew on the trucks rolling out to collect bins from all over the city. Other days, I was at the recycling center, learning how they sort materials and seeing what happens next. I grew to appreciate the workers there and admired them. The people I worked with didn't know who I was, and I had no plan of telling them. I wanted them to treat me without any special treatment, and I wanted to experience everything from scratch. Everything went well for the first few weeks, until I started getting treated like complete trash. I found myself doing most of the work throughout the day, and sometimes other employees would tell me to make sure the bins were lined up straight. I didn't mind the work, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't getting a little aggravated by doing their jobs. I did this for months until my breaking point came on a rainy day. That day, we were short-staffed and the workload was heavy. I couldn't sleep that night and came to work already tired. Not to mention, I ended up getting drenched and started getting fed up with being treated as the company's pack mule. When we started wrapping up, one of the senior workers, Ron, threw his share of the remaining tasks at me. He told me that he had to leave early and that I should handle it because I was new to the job and he was my senior. I got fed up with it and told him that I wouldn't do it and that he should do it himself. He looked at me, confused, as if I disrespected him. He smirked at me and told me that management was not going to like it if they heard him saying bad things about my work. I looked at him and told him to go to management because I didn't care. I even told him that I would go to management with him if he wanted. Am I the a-hole for telling my ex I won't reschedule my trip for her convenience, so either she doesn't watch the kids at all, or she keeps them for the whole 2 weeks? My ex and I are in the middle of a messy divorce. She has 2 kids from a previous marriage, 14F and 17M, and we have 3 together, 7F, 5M, 2F. She currently gets visitation every other weekend, due to some mental health issues, but I was going to let her watch them for 2 weeks while I went on a business trip. Her 14-year-old has been in kidney failure for a while, and 2 nights before I was supposed to leave, she emailed me asking me to reschedule the trip because her daughter was getting a transplant. I told her I couldn't reschedule, and she could visit her daughter in the hospital while the kids were at school and daycare. She said I was trying to make her choose between her kids and that she can't leave her daughter alone in the hospital all day/all weekend, but she also needs to see the kids for the 2 weeks. I ended up telling her that I will not be changing my plans for her convenience, and that if she refuses to watch the kids, they will be with my mum for the 2 weeks, except for her court-ordered visitation. She chose her 14-year-old, so I told the kids about the change of plans and dropped them off with my mum. Then after a few days, my mum called me and said she dropped the kids off with my ex because the kids need their mother. I had to stop what I was doing to call my ex and tell her that if the kids are not at my mom's house by the end of the day, I will be taking her to court when I get back for custodial interference. Now both my mom and my ex are saying that I'm being cruel, and my mom plans to testify for my ex at our next custody hearing. She's been trying to get primary/full custody. Am I the a-hole for not changing my plans at her convenience and leaving the kids with my mum since she chose her older daughter over them?
Christmas choosing. Beggar mom places $250 order with me for same-day pickup. Gets mad. I won't accept sob stories instead of cash. The last few years, I've made pre-filled Xmas, stockings, Easter baskets, boo bags, etc., and sell them on Marketplace in 3 sizes. Mini 15, standard 25, mega size 50, which includes an additional wrapped gift. I make a decent profit, and most people appreciate skipping the shopping, especially single folks who otherwise wouldn't have a surprise stocking. A woman messages me on the 23rd for 6 mega stockings. I spent well over an hour getting details to personalize, and much longer to put it all together. She did ask for a discount, which is fine for a big order, and we agreed on $250. I let her know they were ready, reaffirmed the price, and we planned to meet up. I'd also put together a free mini stocking, since she said she likely wouldn't have one herself. We met, and almost immediately she says, "Hey, I hope you have lots of Christmas spirit, cause my family and I really need it. I sell on Marketplace all the time. I know what's coming next, and I'm sure you do too. Wouldn't you know? Her family has been through every possible disaster, but her kids are perfect angels, but also all have cancer. A dingo ate her baby, etc., etc." Then she admits she never planned to pay me, and figured if I'd already done all the work, and knew they needed them, I'd just give them to her for free. She figured extremely wrong. I put the stockings back in my trunk, and drove off. I hadn't even pulled in my driveway, before my phone was dinging nonstop. She sent me photos of her kids, videos of them crying when she said I ruined Christmas, pictures of her fuel gauge on E, a nearly empty fridge, screenshots of her bank balance, and more than 30 messages demanding I do the right thing and stop ruining Christmas for her kids. She had the nerve to complain that I didn't give her the mini stocking, since I'd already planned to give it away free. Funny thing was, she came from further than I did, and didn't have her kids with her, which means she just had the videos on her phone already. I blocked her after sending one message. "Hey, I wouldn't have minded at all gifting to your kids if your need is genuine, had you asked instead of trying to manipulate me. You ruined Christmas for your kids yourself if you think the only thing that matters is the gifts. Your kids deserve better, but it's on you to provide it. Kindly go shove yourself up your own ass." Christmas morning, my emotions got the better of me, wondering if the kids really were going without, and I used an alt account to check her Facebook. Stacks of gifts, a free feast, huge amount of gift cards. You could barely see her tree, and of course, complaints about all the charities that provided the bare minimum for her kids. Scrolling Marketplace. This morning, I find her selling a ton of brand new toys and kids' clothes, naturally. I should have taken screenshots, but I was irritated and deleted all the messages immediately, and blocked her. I hate how the holidays have become a magnet for slime bags like this, looking to exploit anyone and anything they can. Teal.
Fired from my job, but received a year's worth of pay and got my boss fired. This happened in the early 2010s, before the advancement of technology in video editing and content creation. I was hired as a content creator for a university that wanted to leverage YouTube to kickstart their branding campaign. The pay was low, roughly $2,200 USD, and in those days there were not that many video content creators around, and the process usually took a long time from start to finish. I was hired, and on my second day my manager presented my KPI of 85.3, 10-minute videos in 52 weeks, which was impossible for a one-man team in those days. This meant I had to do the scripting, producing, casting talents, shooting videos, composing music. They were too cheap to pay for a royalty-free music subscription, and editing, all of which I had to use my own equipment and software because their cameras and computers were so old, they simply couldn't handle the strain of even doing things in 720p, much less 1080p. I tried to let my manager know, but she just smiled encouragingly, telling me to give it a try, assuring me if the videos were good, the quantity would not be what she focused on. Hearing this, I agreed to give it a try. My manager treated me well in the first month, however. One day when she found out I was a smoker, her attitude changed overnight. A colleague had actually done a facepalm when I told her about it, and she let me know that the manager hated smokers and often advocated to get them fired. She started nitpicking me on everything, from smelling like cigarette smoke after my breaks, coming in 5-10 minutes late, despite doing more than 4 hours of overtime daily, not being contactable during break times. The list goes on. But I soldiered on, because I just wanted to do the work, and do it well. 5 months in, I was called into the director's office where I saw my manager, putting on her best displeased but gleeful face, and I felt my stomach drop. The director told me that she was disappointed because she had heard that I was falling behind on my work, and it was already halfway through the year, and I had only completed 30 out of my 85 videos. I tried to explain that I had been working my butt off on these videos. I literally worked 6 days out of the week, over 60 hours just to do what needed to be done, and that being a one-man army made things impossible. And also the fact that the videos I had put up grossed the highest views ever on their YouTube page. I also recounted how my manager said that she was looking for quality videos over quantity. The director dismissed this and stated that the KPI was simply 85 videos in a year, and since it was almost half a year in, with my numbers at less than half, she felt it prudent to cut the cord early. I asked how would they even meet the KPI if they were to fire me. Now, my manager had snorted, saying, "We'll find a professional production house to finish your work." The director had given her an odd look, but nodded in her support nonetheless, telling me, "You don't need to worry. Manager will get the job done." That was when a light bulb went off in my head. Seeing as I was the content professional in the office, one of my jobs was to keep a database of production houses to use in the event we needed to do a shoot that required more resources, and I was sure that they would be using the production houses in my database as my manager.
had no contacts in the production industry. So I changed the contact numbers and messed up all the emails on all of the entries except one. The one, I had a friend working as a junior director, not an assistant director, but a director assigned to smaller video projects. I gave him a call and told him of my plan, and sure enough, within 2 days, they were called to come in to pitch. I told him that I had a plan that was a win-win for us. It would instantly help him and put him on the fast track to a director position by bringing in that much business to his production house, and it would also benefit me financially. I would teach him exactly how to pitch to win over the boss and the director, and in turn, his company would pay me a standard finder's fee of 15%. He agreed instantly and immediately put me on the line with his general manager, who, upon realising this was to be 6 months of work for a high 6-digit payout, instantly agreed and drew up a contract. As it turns out, after I gave them a metaphorical step-by-step playbook, they were the perfect fit. Somehow understanding the needs and style of the university as well as the sort of themes the university wanted to feature. The director and my former boss were amazed that my friend's production house was so familiar with their content that they signed them up on the spot. Now, even back then, using a production house back then was not cheap. Each video that they produced could cost double to triple my monthly salary, given that they had specialised people for each function: producer, director, director of photography, gaffer, sound person, video editor, assistant director, production assistants, etc. But this meant that they could complete a video every 2-3 days. So yes, they produced 50 videos in a span of 4 months for over 100 months of my salary, and I sat back and collected the healthy 15%, which was about 15 months of my salary. This allowed me to put money aside for a holiday and the rest to further my studies with a respected film school overseas. I thought my plan ended here and I had gotten back at my former bosses, but to my surprise, I received a call from my colleague while I was holidaying in Bali one day. This was the same colleague who had face-palmed when I told her that my manager had found out that I was a smoker. She told me that my former manager had been fired and my director given a massive blasting by the Chancellor of the university. The content creation project which I was hired for was only given a budget equating to about 1.5 years of my salary, and they had exceeded that budget by over 10 times. My former manager was so desperate to ensure that her content creation project could be completed that she had thrown caution to the wind, paying anything to get the job done so that she could show my director that she had completed the project and had approved the massive spend without getting consent from the director. So that is how I got my friend a super fast promotion to a full director in his production house and a year of pay after getting unfairly fired from my job. Like this video if you enjoyed the story. Comment what you want to see next. Subscribe/follow for more videos like this.